Life is like a complex puzzle, overwhelming at times, with pieces scattered everywhere, obscuring the bigger picture. For far too long, I frantically tried to put all of those pieces together, convinced that by adding more tasks and responsibilities to my plate, I could finally achieve that elusive image of success and balance. But here's the truth. All I ended up with was frustration and confusion. The key to solving this puzzle wasn't about adding more pieces. It's about simplifying and shedding those distractions that just cloud your vision. And with that in mind, I'm just excited to share with you guys today the 5 things I've done to just create a much simpler puzzle. These changes have transformed my life, and I truly believe they can do the same for you. So let's just get started with the first one. I made a conscious decision to stop watching the news. Imagine if every time you walked into a room, someone handed you a backpack full of rocks, you know? The emotional toll of watching the news kind of feels like that. This felt almost sacrilegious at first, just not keeping up with current events that everyone around me was having conversations about, like the P. Diddy diddler and Brian Koberger and that giant baby penguin in Australia named Pesto. But honestly, this decision has been one of the most liberating choices I've made. I mean, the emotional toll of watching the news is almost overwhelming, and each broadcast seems to add another rock. A news crisis, a tragedy, or some scandal. And I found myself just fixating on things that I just had no control over. I would wake up, check the headlines, and then just immediately feel my mood plummet. This constant stream of negativity made my life feel harder than it already was. It was as if I was absorbing the collective anxiety and despair of the entire world. I realized that while the world is filled with genuine issues, the news is just so hell-bent on sensationalizing them, just highlighting fear and drama over hope and progress. And by removing the news from my daily routine, I just created a much simpler, positive existence. Life is already hard enough as it is without inviting voluntary stress into our lives. It's a change that I encourage everyone who feels overwhelmed by the world to consider. I started setting realistic goals. I have to admit, I'm the kind of person that operates on a 0 or 100 mindset. And when I set my sights on something, I want to hit the gas pedal as hard as I can. In theory, this ambition's great, aiming for the stars and all that. But reality often leaves me feeling like I can't even leave the atmosphere because the pressure to perform at an extraordinary level is just suffocating. When I first launched this channel, I set a goal to hit 100,000 subscribers within the first year. I even wrote 100,000 subscribers inside a bottle of Dom Perignon that was given to me a few Christmases ago, and I told myself I wouldn't drink it until I hit this goal. And I really did think that that bottle would be long gone by now. And you can see below, I clearly have not met that goal yet, but it wasn't for a lack of effort. I just quickly realized that I could not control that outcome, and I just had to rethink my approach. And instead of focusing on that elusive number of subscribers, I focused on a goal that I actually had control over, which was just to make 100 videos. And this tiny shift just allowed me to focus and concentrate on the process instead of the end result. I set out to just create consistent content, and a few months ago, I hit that 100 video mark. And this approach has simplified my life in more ways than I expected. I no longer feel burdened by the weight of unachievable goals. And instead of feeling weighed down and defeated about these lofty aspirations that I just simply have no control over, I now just get to celebrate each milestone along the way. And I encourage everyone who just feels overwhelmed by the pressures of perfection to just give this a try. I made a conscious decision to prioritize what truly matters in my life, rather than getting swept away by the urgency of day-to-day demands. It's all too easy to get caught up in a whirlwind of tasks that seem pressing, but lack any real significance. I used to fill my days with things that made me feel productive, but often just left me feeling drained and unfulfilled. But I realized that most of these urgent tasks never aligned with my core values or my long-term goals. This was so frustrating because I felt like I was always working, but I just simply was not getting anywhere. This continued until I just finally took a step back to assess what truly matters in my life. My well-being, my relationships, my passions, and just my long-term aspirations. And this made me realize that when I prioritize what truly matters most, I'm able to just remove that noise around me that is just hijacking my attention. And by setting boundaries around my time and attention, I became intentional about how I spend my days. I found that focusing on what truly mattered in my life provided this sense of simplicity and satisfaction in my life that I just did not have before. And if you find yourself drowning in just a sea of urgent tasks, I invite you to just take a step back and just try to reprioritize based on importance instead. I really think you'll be surprised by how much lighter and simpler your life becomes afterward. I started saying no a lot more, and it's become one of the most liberating decisions I've made. For the longest time, I found myself in this relentless pursuit of trying to please everyone else. I wanted everyone to like me, and I thought that by saying yes to every request, I could cultivate those relationships. But a harsh reality that I've faced, and I'm sure you guys have faced as well, is that you can't please everyone. Every time that I agreed to do something, whether it was attending a gathering I just wasn't even excited about, or taking on extra responsibilities at work, I was putting unnecessary stress on myself. It was like adding even more rocks to that already heavy backpack, making it harder to just carry my own needs and priorities. And I saw that each additional commitment I took on came at the expense of my own self-care. Not only that, but just consistently taking on all these extra commitments, I just felt like people felt entitled to my time, and if I didn't do something, they would get mad at me. And this became exhausting, just worrying about disappointing others. And ironically, those very same people never seemed to commit when there was something I needed. And my life just became a lot simpler when I embraced the power of saying no. And I've had to learn to prioritize my own needs, and by saying no, I'm not being selfish, I'm just being honest. At the end of the day, you're not gonna please everyone. Not everyone is going to like you. And if you give someone too much of your time, they may take advantage of it. And if you're a people pleaser, I just encourage you to just start saying no a little bit more, especially when it comes at the expense of your own health. It's going to make life so much simpler, and if you lose a couple friends in the process, are they even your friends? I let go of what could have been, because for years, I was haunted by the weight of missed opportunities. You know those pivotal moments in your life where you reflect on what if you had taken a different path or made a different decision? What would have happened? And often was catching myself in a cycle of self-blame and regret, and just reminiscing on all those what-if moments in my life, how things could have been different. But this kind of thinking was just draining and ultimately unproductive. It has created this gross victim mentality that made me believe that my past decisions defined my current happiness and self-worth. And I just felt like a prisoner of my own choices, feeling trapped in this loop of comparison to everyone else around me who just seemed to be thriving. I was constantly just looking back, wishing that I could just rewrite my story, and it just made life infinitely harder. And as I got older, I just realized that holding on to these regrets wasn't getting me anywhere. It was just weighing me down like an anchor, preventing me from moving forward. And I needed to forgive myself for the decisions that I didn't make, and the opportunities I passed up, and the paths that I did take that didn't lead me towards the result that I had desired. Because life is not just about the choices we make, but how we respond to them. And embracing that every experience I've had and everything I feel like I regret in my life actually shapes me into who I am, and I need to embrace that. And instead of seeing them as failures, as valuable lessons that I could actually learn from. But the shift has simplified my life immensely because I'm no longer burdened by the past, and I'm just energized about the future. And obviously, I'm a flawed individual. I'm not a perfect person, and I'm still putting that puzzle together for myself. But removing these things from my life has just allowed me to see the pieces a lot clearer and be able to find a way to actually solve it. These are the things that I've done to simplify my life, and now I want to know in the comments, what are things in your life that you have done that have simplified yours? Maybe you found this video helpful. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone that you feel might need to hear it. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Blake. I make new videos every week, and I hope that you'll subscribe so you never miss a new one. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in that next video. See you later, guys.